Chapter 6 is called Siege. Artemis leaned back in the study's leather swivel chair, smiling over steepled fingers. Perfect. That little explosion should cure those fairies of their cavalier attitude. Plus, there was one less whaler in the world. Artemis Fowl did not like whalers. There were less objectionable ways to produce oil byproducts. The pinhole camera concealed in the locator had worked out perfectly. With its high-resolution images, he had picked out the fairy's telltale breath crystals. Artemis consulted the basement surveillance monitor. His captive, Holly Short, was sitting on the cot now, head in hands. Artemis frowned. He hadn't expected the fairy to appear so human. Until now, they had merely been quarry, animals to be hunted. But now, seeing one like this, in obvious discomfort, it changed things. Artemis put the computer to sleep and crossed to the main doors. Time for a little chat with their guest. Just as his fingers alighted on the brass handles, the door flew open before him. Juliet appeared in the doorway, cheeks flushed from haste. "Artemis!" she gasped. "Your mother, she..." Artemis felt a lead ball drop in his stomach. "Yes?" "Well, she says, Artemis, she says that you're..." "Yes, Juliet, for heaven's sakes, what is it?" Juliet placed both hands over her mouth, composing herself. After several seconds, she parted spangled nails, speaking through her fingers. "It's your father, sir. Artemis Sr., Madame Fowl says he's come back." For a split second, Artemis could have sworn his heart had stopped. Father? Back? Was it possible? Of course, he'd always believed his father was alive, but lately, since he'd hatched his fairy scheme, it was almost as if his father had shifted to the back of his mind. Artemis felt guilt churn in his stomach. He had given up on his own father. "Did you see him, Juliet, with your own eyes?" The girl shook her head. "No, Artemis, sir, I just heard voices in the bedroom, but she won't let me through the door, not for anything, not even with a hot drink." Artemis calculated. They had returned barely an hour ago. His father could have slipped past Juliet. It was possible, just possible. He glanced at his watch, synchronized with the Greenwich Mean Time by constantly updated radio signals. 3 a.m. Time was ticking on. His entire plan depended on the fairies making their next move before daylight. Artemis started. He was doing it again, pushing family to one side. What was he becoming? His father was the priority here, not some money-making scheme. Juliet was still in the doorway, watching him with those enormous blue eyes. She was waiting for him to make a decision, as he always did, and for once, there was indecision scrawled across his pale features. "Very well," he mumbled eventually. "I'd better go up there immediately." Artemis brushed past the girl, taking the steps 2 at a time. His mother's room was 2 flights up, a converted attic space. He hesitated at the door. What would he say if it was his father's miraculously return? Let me stop there. Something didn't sound right. A good reader would stop and go back and think that through again. He hesitated at the door. What would he say if it was that his father miraculously had returned? What would he do? It was ridiculous dithering about, impossible to predict. He knocked lightly. "Mother?" No response. But he thought he heard a giggle and was instantly transported into the past. Initially, this room had been his parents' lounge. They would sit on the chaise lounge for hours, giggling like school children, feeding the pigeons or watching the ships sailing past on Dublin Sound. When Artemis Sr. had disappeared, Angeline Fowl had become more and more attached to the space, eventually refusing to leave it altogether. "Mother? Are you all right?" Muffled voices from within, conspiratorial whispers. "Mother? I'm coming in." "Wait a moment, Timmy. Timmy, stop it. We have company." Timmy? Artemis's heart thumped like a snare drum in his chest. Timmy was her pet name for his father. Timmy and Artie, the 2 men in her life. He could wait no longer. Artemis burst through the double doors. His first impression was of light. Mother had the lamps on. Well, this was a good sign, surely. Artemis knew where his mother would be. He knew exactly where to look, but he couldn't. What if... "Yes, can we help you?" Now, you're going to be a little shocked by this. Just be prepared, because it's not what you think is coming. Artemis turned, his eyes still downcast. It's me." His mother laughed, airy and carefree. "I can see it's you, Papa. Can't you even give your boy one night off? It's our honeymoon after all." Artemis knew then it was just an escalation of her madness. Craziness. Papa? Angeline thought Artemis was his own grandfather who'd been dead for over 10 years. He raised his gaze slowly. His mother was seated on the chaise lounge, resplendent in her own wedding dress, face clumsily coated with makeup. But that wasn't the worst of it. Get ready. Beside her was a facsimile of his father, constructed from the morning suit he'd worn on that glorious day in Christchurch Cathedral 14 years ago. The clothes were padded with tissue, and atop the dress shirt was a stuffed pillowcase with lipstick features. It was almost funny. Artemis choked back a sob, his hopes vanishing like a summer rainbow. "What do you say, Papa?" said Angeline in a deep voice, nodding the pillow like a ventriloquist manipulating her dummy. "One night off for your boy, eh?" Artemis nodded. What else could he do? "One night, then. Take tomorrow, too. Be happy." Angeline's face radiated honest joy. She sprang from the couch, embracing her unrecognized son. "Thank you, Papa. Thank you." Artemis returned the embrace, though it felt like cheating. "You're welcome, Angeline. Now I must be off. Business to attend to." His mother settled beside her imitation husband. "Yes, Papa, you go. Don't worry. We'll be fine." Artemis left. He didn't look back. There were things to be done, fairies to be extorted. He had no time for his mother's fantasy world. Captain Holly Short was holding her head in her hands, one hand to be precise. The other was scrabbling down the side of her boot on the camera's blind side. In actuality, her head was crystal clear, but it would do no harm for the enemy to believe her still out of action. Perhaps they would underestimate her. And that would be the last mistake they ever made. Holly's fingers closed around the object that had been digging into her ankle. She knew immediately by its contours what was concealed there. The acorn. It must have slipped into her boot during all the commotion by the oak. This could be a vital development. All she needed was a small patch of earth, and then her powers would be restored. Holly glanced surreptitiously around the cell. Fresh concrete by the looks of it, not a single crack or flaky corner, nowhere to bury her secret weapon. Holly stood tentatively, trying out her legs for stability. Not too bad, a little bit shaky around the knees, but otherwise sound enough. She crossed to the wall, pressing her cheek and palms to the smooth surface. The concrete was fresh, all right, very recent, still damp in patches. Obviously, her prison had been specially prepared. "Looking for something?" said a voice, a cold, heartless voice. Holly reared back from the wall. The human boy was standing not 2 feet from her, his eyes hidden behind mirrored glasses. He had entered the room without a sound. Extraordinary. "Sit, please." Holly did not want to sit, please. What she wanted to do was incapacitate the insolent pup with her elbow and use his miserable hide for leverage. Artemis could see it in her eyes, and it amused him. "Getting ideas, are we, Captain Short?" Holly bared her teeth. It was answer enough. "We are both fully aware of the rules here, Captain. This is my house. You must abide by my wishes. Your laws, not mine. Obviously, my wishes do not include bodily harm to myself or your attempting to leave this house." It hit Holly then. "How do you know your name? Your rank?" Artemis smiled, though there was no joy in it. "If you wear a name tag," Holly's hand unconsciously covered the silver tag on her suit. "But that's written in Gnomish, I know. I happen to be fluent, as is everyone in my network." Holly was silent for a moment, processing this momentous revelation. "Foul," she said with feeling. "You have no idea what you've done. Bringing the worlds together like this could mean disaster for us all." Artemis shrugged. "I'm really not concerned with us all, just myself. And believe me, I'm gonna be perfectly fine. Now sit, please." Holly sat, never taking her hazel eyes from the diminutive monster before her. "So what is the master plan, Fowl? Let me guess. World domination?" "Oh, come on. Nothing so melodramatic," chuckled Artemis. "Just riches." "A thief?" spat Holly. You're just a thief? Annoyance flashed across Artemis's features, only to be replaced by his customary sardonic grin. Yes, a thief, if you'd like. Hardly just a thief, though. I'm the world's first cross-species thief. Captain Short snorted. First cross-species thief. Mud people have been stealing from us for millennia. Why do you think we live underground? True. But I will be the first to successfully separate a fairy from its gold. Gold? Gold? Human idiot. You don't honestly believe that crock of gold nonsense. Some things aren't true, you know. Holly threw her head back and laughed. Artemis checked his nails patiently, waiting for her to finish. When the gales of laughter had finally subsided, he shook his index finger. You are right to laugh, Captain Short. For a while there, I did believe in all that under-the-rainbow crock of gold blarney. But now I know better. Now I know about the hostage fund. Holly struggled to keep her face under control. What hostage fund? Oh, come now, Captain. Why bother with the charade? You told me about it yourself. I told you? Stammered Holly. Ridiculous. Look at your arm. Holly rolled up her right sleeve. There was a small cotton pad taped to the vein. You see, that's where we administered the sodium pentothal, commonly known as truth serum. You sang like a bird. Holly knew it was true. How else could he know? You're crazy! Artemis nodded. Yeah, if I win, I'm a prodigy. If I lose, I'm crazy. That's the way history is written. Of course, there had been no sodium pentothal, just a harmless prick with a sterilized needle. Artemis would not risk causing brain damage to his meal ticket, nor could he afford to reveal the book as the source of his information. It was better to let the hostage believe that she had betrayed her own people. It would lower her morale, making her more susceptible to his mind games. Still, the ruse disturbed him. It was undeniably cruel. How far was he prepared to go for this gold? He didn't know and wouldn't really know until the time came. Holly slumped, momentarily defeated by this latest development. She had talked, revealed sacred secrets. Even if she did manage to escape, she would be banished to some freezing tunnel under the Arctic Circle. This isn't over, Fowl, she said at last. We have powers you can't possibly know about. It would take days to describe them all. The infuriating boy laughed again. How long do you think you've been here? Holly groaned. She knew what was coming. A few hours? Artemis shook his head. 3 days, he lied. We've had you on a drip for over 60 hours until you told us everything we needed to know. Even as the words came out, Artemis felt guilty. These mind games were having an obvious effect on Holly, destroying her from the inside out. Was there really a need for this? 3 days? 3? You could have killed me. What kind of... And it was that speechless quality that sent the doubt shooting through Artemis's brain. The fairy thought him so evil she couldn't even find the words. Holly pulled herself together. Well then, Master Fowl, she spat, heavy on contempt. If you know so much about us, then you know what happens when they locate me. Artemis nodded absently. Oh yes, I know. In fact, I'm counting on it. It was Holly's turn to grin. Oh really? Tell me, boy, have you ever met a troll? For the first time, the human's confidence dropped a notch. No, never a troll. Holly showed more teeth. You will, Fowl. You will. And I hope I'm there to see it. The LAP had established a surface ops HQ at E1 Terra. Well, said Root, slapping a paramedic gremlin who was applying burn salve to his forehead, leave it. The magic will sort me out soon enough. Well, what? Replied Foley. Don't give me any of your lip today, Foley, because today is not one of those, oh, I'm so impressed with the pony's technology days. Tell me what you found on the human. Foley scowled, securing his foil hat between curled horns. He flipped the top on a wafer-thin laptop. I hacked into Interpol. Not too difficult, I can tell you. They might as well have put out a welcome mat. Root drummed his fingers on the conference table. Get on with it. Right. File. 10 gigabyte file. In paper terms, that's half a library. The commander whistled. Phew, that's one busy human. Family, corrected Foley. The Fowls have been subverting justice for generations. Racketeering, smuggling, armed robbery, mostly corporate crime the last century. So do we have a location? Well, that was the easy part. Fowl Manor, on a 200-acre estate on the outskirts of Dublin. Fowl Manor is only about 20 clicks from our current location. Root chewed on his bottom lips. Only 20? That means we could take it before first light. Yep. Sort out this whole mess before it gets out of hand in the rays of the sun. The commander nodded. This was their first break. Fairies had not operated in natural light for centuries. Even when they had lived above ground, they were essentially night creatures. The sun diluted their magic like bleaching a photograph. If they had to wait another day before sending in a strike force, who knew what damage Fowl could achieve? It was even possible that this whole affair was media-oriented, and by tomorrow evening, Captain Short's face would be on every corner of every publication on the planet. Root shuddered. Oh, that would spell the end of everything unless the Mud People had learned to coexist with other species. But if history had taught any lessons, it was that humans couldn't get along with anyone, even themselves. Right. Everyone lock and load. V-flight patterns. Establish a perimeter inside the manor grounds. The retrieval squad roared military-type affirmatives, coaxing as many metallic noises from their weapons as possible. So you're hearing that? They're all like, hoorah, and like doing the little weapon thing sound, making the noises, checking, making sure that everything's right. Foley, round up the techies. Follow us in the shuttle and bring the big dishes. We'll shut down the entire estate, give ourselves a bit of breathing room. One thing, Commander, mused Foley. Yes, said Root impatiently. Why did this human tell us who he was? He must have known we could find him. Root shrugged. No, maybe he's not as clever as he thinks he is. No, I don't think that's it. I don't think that's it at all. I think he's been one step ahead of us all the way, and this is no different. I don't have time for theorizing now, Foley. First light is approaching. One more thing, Commander. Is it important? Yes, I think it is. Well... Foley tapped a key on his laptop, scrolling through Artemis's vital statistics. This criminal mastermind, the one behind this elaborate scheme? Yes, what about him? Foley looked up, an almost admiring look in his golden eyes. Well, he's only 12 years old. And that's young, even for a human. Root snorted, jacking a new battery into his tri-barreled blaster. Too much doggone TV. Thinks he's Sherlock Holmes. Well, that would be Professor Moriarty, corrected Foley. Holmes, Moriarty, they all both look the same with the flesh scorched off their skulls. And with that elegant parting response, Root followed his squad into the night air.